hold on. There is a bike pedaling a dude hanging out in the back of the bike, almost falling out, trying to take video of the other bike. That's amazing. Hey folks, I'm here at Eurobike 2024 for some of the coolest and quirkiest bike tech that I've seen here. I've of course done dedicated videos to some of the smart trainers and other things that have been announced here, but this is like a bit of a roundup post. And now, quick note, this video is sponsored by Precision Hydration Fuel. More about them a little later on in the video. Okay, so I want to start off with one of the coolest things I've seen yet, and it's something you've probably seen other versions of this in all sorts of YouTuber videos, but this is like the smallest, coolest one I've seen. That's actually a bike. Hold on, folks. That was a bike. He was pedaling. You could see him pedaling inside. An e-bike, but a bike nonetheless. In any case, this is the smallest inflator I've seen. It is a touch bit bigger than my AirPods case. It can inflate a single full tire to 100 PSI. They've tested it to 105. They say maybe 110, or two tires to 70 PSI, which is likely more than enough for most gravel, given that was a road tire number as opposed to a gravel tire. So anyway, point is, I'm gonna try this out. For me, it's not actually the idea to take this on rides, though this is darn small that I probably could, to be honest. But it's in fact for travel. When I travel places all the time with my bike, I don't really want to put a full bike pump in there because it's liable to bounce around my bike case and scratch out my bike and make it a mess. And it's just one more thing to pack, versus this is way better. So I've been looking at inflators for a while and finally found something that I think might work. But again, more on this a little bit later on. Now, should we know that Xpedo also had some power meters there? They've got their existing kind of crankset-based power meters they've had for a while, but they also had some power meter pedals. Sounds like those are still probably a way off, like next year sometime. Now, we'll get to more power meter pedals in a second, but the next thing I want to mention is a software app update coming for Rouvy. Now, hang with me here for a second. If you have any inkling of geekiness inside you, you will find this crazy. I would argue this is the coolest thing that I saw here this week, which is the ability to build your own courses on Rouvy. But again, hang with me for a second here. So you're going to take an outside course that you've ridden, and then it's going to convert it into basically a 3D version of that. So what you do is, if you recorded something with an action camera outside, like a GoPro, etc., you can go ahead and load that file in. If your action camera has GPS built into it, then you're good to go. That's all you need to do. If it doesn't, you need to add a file from your Garmin or whatever other device you have. It'll take those two files together. It'll do a double check of them to make sure all the stuff is good. If you had just one file with the GoPro with GPS in it, then it'll basically do the validation there. You can see that validation. Then it sends all that stuff up to the cloud. Now, it takes about 25 hours, I said, for it to convert that per hour of video. So per hour of recorded video to convert that in. And the reason is because they're not just doing like a YouTube conversion, they're converting the entire thing into a 3D world. So fast forward 25 hours later, you come back, you open up this Rouvy editor of sorts that you have, you can overlay things into this world. So you can put starter gates there, you can add different lines on the pavement, you can add 3D objects. For example, you can actually add a helicopter. I'm not kidding here, a helicopter, and you'll hear that helicopter as you go by. Like, there's all these different things there. This is super, super cool. It's like playing SimCity, but within your own cycling world. And the idea then from there is that, of course, you can invite other people to race on this course or share it with everyone else. It's just a part of the general pile of courses on Rouvy. So you imagine though a scenario where maybe you have a team and you've got someone on the team that wants to go out and record a bunch of cool rides. Then in the winter, you can race on those rides, right? You can race on those routes. It's 3Ds. You'll see the shadows, by the way. Note the shadows right here. That's pretty cool. And if you use a slider, you can see and if you use a slider, you can see basically that transition back and forth between the 3D world and the kind of static video world from that just simple GoPro footage. More on this, they're going to release this sometime in the October timeframe. I'll start playing with it sometime in the August timeframe. They're going to kind of do a smaller beta there, and then they're going to start rolling it out from October to everyone that can use this to update their own stuff. Like, this is, it's just cool from a tech standpoint. This is not just simply uploading a GoPro bit of footage and calling it done. This is, again, converting it into a world that they can understand, they can overlay shadows on, they can do all the things you'd expect from like their 3D kind of riders that are in that world. So super, super cool stuff. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, this video is sponsored by Precision Fuel and Hydration. They've been sponsoring stuff here on both the main channel as well as the podcast, the FitFile podcast, for a while. And the reason is that I actually use the darn stuff. Both myself and my wife use their products and find them quite good, actually, for both of us. But more than us, it's Tour de France, both the men's and the women's side of the pro fields using them. Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, like all the acronyms out that you want is using it. But more than the product itself, which tastes fine, it's totally like edible, which is, I think, kind of a decent bar for success on nutrition products, especially for endurance sports nutrition products, is the fact that their athlete support crew behind the scenes can help you figure out the right combination for your particular event. So whether you're doing an Ironman or an ultra race of some sort, or whatever the heck it is, a gravel race, etc., they'll go ahead and you basically can do a conference call with them, like a literal 20-minute conference call with them, a Zoom call, walk through your event, and they'll tell you what products you probably should be using for your event and how you should be spacing them and timing them and all that. That's just absolutely bonkers, by the way. Still technically a bike. Anyways, all the products Informed Sport certified, all of them are vegan, all are 2-to-1 glucose fructose, and contain no artificial ingredients. You can visit the link in the description for that free planner, or get 15% off your first order using the code that you see on the screen right there. Thanks to Precision Fuel and Hydration for sponsoring this video. So the next thing I saw that caught my eye is something from Lezyne, and it's one of the new bike lights, and it's called the Saddle Drive AI, and I'd say the AI thing is probably overplayed here. I think it's probably just a pretty basic accelerometer algorithm, but that's actually not the part that's most interesting to me, but I'll explain it to you first. In short, when you brake your bike, it's gonna go ahead and make the light brighter and blink, which is cool, that's neat. What I found most interesting though is how darn small it was and how it fit under the saddle, just like snuck up underneath there. And it charges via USB-C. You just simply rotate it to pull it out, so really easy to pull it out and charge it. They're saying 60 hours of battery life per charge with just USB-C. Really easy to use, and it's really like totally concealed out of the way while still being super bright. So that was cool. The other cool thing they had was only 25 bucks, which is their flex mounts. And so check this out. You basically attach these flex mounts to the front stem there, but the flex part comes from the fact that because there's different basically widths on where those screws would be, this can rotate to fit those screws. And then at the bottom front of that is a GoPro mount. Now on that GoPro mount, they attach a different kind of quarter turn mount, if you will, for their lights. And that's fine, I don't really care about that. I care about the GoPro mount because everything uses GoPro mounts, right? You've got GoPros and action cameras, Insta360, DJI, etc. All that stuff uses that, as well as tons of other bike lights and all sorts of weird tech like aero sensors use that, etc. So that is a cool little $25 thing I will absolutely be picking up. Both of those things from Lezyne are starting to ship sometime in the August timeframe, so pretty soon here. Now normally about this point in the video, I'm gonna ask you for your likes and subscribe. Got a different plan this time around. I want you to tell me, hold on. There is a bike pedaling a dude hanging out in the back of the bike, almost falling out, trying to take video of the other bike. That's amazing. I could not have planned that segue better. As opposed to liking or subscribing, which you should still do, you should instead tell me the best bike that you saw go by. The most amazing bike that you saw go by. That's what I'm here for. Drop it in the comments because that tells YouTube to do something with this video that makes it better, okay? Deal? That's why it's gonna work. Now, since this list is titled The Cool and Quirky, I mentioned earlier on that I had a dedicated video for some of the trainers and stuff that came out here. There's been a few new trainers here. There's the Jet Black trainer, as well as ones from Elite, both the trainer and the Smarbike frame. Definitely taking the cake on the coolest thing from a trainer standpoint is the Jet Black trainer, mainly because of the price. The price is $399, yet it has all the features of a $1,000 trainer. I've got an entire non-review review up in the corner there. It's not a review. It is simply like a really detailed first look at it with first ride stuff that I did before I even got here to Eurobike. And now since it's been announced, people are obviously super jazzed about that. So definitely check that out in the corner. And then the flip side, you've got the Elite Square as well as their two trainers. So the square frame. You know, one of the things that after I did that video that people have brought out is a term that I am going to definitely steal and use more often. That someone, I don't remember who, on the Trainer Road forums mentioned, which is app neutral. So one of the challenge with the Zwift Ride, the Zwift Bike, is the fact that it's built on the Zwift cog. So anything with the Zwift cog only works with Zwift, at least for now. I'm hoping at some point Zwift will get around to open sourcing some of that a bit more so other apps can use it. Otherwise, I don't think the industry is gonna leverage that. But in the case of the Elite Square, which is basically a smart bike frame that you attach to any trainer, so it's not just Elite trainers, it is app neutral, meaning that you can go ahead and put it on any app you want, whether that be Zwift or Rouvy or Full Gas or Indevelo or Trainer Road or whatever the case is. And so again, someone came with that term on the Trainer Road forums, and kudos to them for that, because that's a great way of describing basically, I think that's Zwift only or app neutral across the board. So cool stuff there. Now, next up, I mentioned some other power meter pedals, and we got the perennial favorite, which is the Xpedo power meter pedals. There is no company in the sports tech circuit that has promised power meter pedals for as many years as Xpedo has. So I went back last night and looked, and I have been writing about them for 11 years of promising power meter pedals. And it's plausible, thinly plausible, that they shipped a production set at some point along the way, though I can't find much evidence of that. I can only find like various media reviewers getting units over the years, but not actually production people. But let's pretend they did. they're back at it again with another set here of power meter pedals. This is across the entire set of Shimano SPD SL, Look, as well as SPD for the mountain bike side. So you can see the whole range there. A couple different options on the SPD side, and then one each on the road side between SPD SL as well as Look Keo. They're targeting a price point of $799 for the dual-sided road-based ones and $899 for the SPD based one. Their battery life claim is 50 hours. You do have that little paw there, vaguely like the doomed IQ squared system. I'm not sure what's going on with them, so I can't help you there on that one. But vaguely like that, except it's coin cell battery, CR2032. You do have those three little bolts there that you basically undo to access that coin cell case. Might be kind of a pain in the butt every 50 hours to do that, so we'll see, especially if that's not a real 50 hours, if that's like a 30 hours, whatever the case is. But I am all for more competition in this segment, so I'm hoping we'll see that. They're hoping to get me units here like in a month or so, so they're pretty confident they're close on this from an accuracy standpoint for all that kind of stuff. So I'm with you, Xpedo. After 11 years, I want to see this. Like I'm in your team here, but you got to make it accurate, right? At the end of the day, if the power meter's not accurate, then it's just Shimano. That's what we call that. So what else is next on the list here? Okay, so continue on the Quirky side of things. There is a booth that's next to kind of like a communal meeting area on one of the show floors here. And in that booth, there is basically like 4 or 5 bikes set up, and there's racing there. And there's like, that's called the Virtual Hero or something like that. Yes, the Virtual Hero, the Eurobike Virtual Hero, which is designed to be like a complimentary race to a circuit race that they're gonna do inside of this loop here you see people going around on bikes for. That race is not done on a platform you've ever heard of before. It is done on a platform called WhiizU, with 2 I's, a Z, and a U, right? I've never heard of this platform before. I've never seen this platform before, but I will give them kudos for doing a really good job of recreating this circuit right here. It looks pretty darn realistic to what I see people going around right here. No one was racing at all. I've never saw a single person actually on those bikes over the last couple of days so far, walking past it umpteen million times, but they are there, so maybe at some point, if there's any interest, I'll poke at the Whiz. So that's all I got on that one. Now, beyond that, one of the things that you're seeing at the show over the last couple of years is that the big name companies, the SRAMs, the Garmins, etc. of the world, aren't announcing and showing their stuff here. And the reason is it just doesn't make sense for them. They have to share the media coverage with every other company here, right? 1,000 companies, or how many companies are here? 2,000 companies? I don't know, a lot of companies. So for them, there's no point in doing that. They're announcing stuff, as we saw with Garmin last week with the Edge 1050. We saw with Coros the week, a couple days before, a week before, whatever it was, with the Coros Dura, and SRAM announced stuff basically just before they got here, etc. And so all these companies are doing that somewhere else as opposed to here. Now, the flip side, though, is that here you do get to see a lot of the smaller companies announce stuff because they're looking for that, of course, media coverage, like myself and others, to cover them. So with that in mind, there wasn't like a ton of major announcements here. And a lot of the things that were cool last year, like Rolla, etc., they weren't here at all this year. But ultimately, this is a bit of a quieter year from a sports tech standpoint. You just have to watch all this stuff go by. I'm so distracted by it all, it's amazing. But ultimately, there wasn't a ton of stuff from a sports tech standpoint here. And that's all right, because as soon as I hit stop on this camera, I'm getting in the car and I'm going down to the Tour de France for the individual time trial stage tomorrow, or today when you're watching this video, so that sometime over the weekend, I will dive into all the cool sports tech there. It's probably one of people's favorite videos of the year, all the behind the scenes tech of the Tour de France, in particular of the time trial stages where we get to see all the trainers they're using and any of the quirky stuff they have on their bikes for sensors and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. That is coming up. Once again, if you did find this video interesting or useful, go ahead and whack that like button at the bottom or subscribe for plenty more sports technology goodness. Have a good one.